Good evening, November 2nd, 2021. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin action here today. So we did break this B-wave high here, which is a great sign. That was that 63.7K area. What I've been pointing out off of the lows, though, is that we really are just having this choppy three-wave action here. Best I can tell, basically off of this low, we've got a low B, and then a C, sort of expanded flat correction like that. Let me just go ahead and change this, something like that. Okay. All right, we've got ABC there, then we have ABC down pretty clearly. And then now we potentially have A, B, and C upwards here off of these lows. And this red box here was the extension drawn from here, A to B. The upper bound of that box is right around that 1.236 area, which is kind of the most that a C wave typically goes to. So we have two potential things happening here. Now, first off, I'm just going to start this by saying this whole area is a little bit unclear to me. You know, it's not impulsive, right? What's happening right now, though, is potentially leading us upwards in an impulse. And the reason I say that is because if we go from the 1236 down to the 764 and hold, which so far we have, and then we push upwards from here to the 1618, this potentially could be giving us 1, 2, 3. We'll hold a 4-wave pullback at 63 and then 5 up here to 66. That would actually look like an impulsive low. Now the question is an impulsive move. What was this action all about? I really don't know. It's kind of weird, but maybe somehow that's our 1, 2, and then this, if we get it, is our third, and then we would see a pullback in a fourth, and then we get a fifth up, something along those lines. So it's weird. All of this action is weird. Suffice it to say. So that would be probably my primary scenario if we do get this push. You know, if we hold that 62.6K area and we get this push up eventually to 66.6 or so, and then pull back, and then we get another push up from there, then maybe that scenario is playing out, and that would still leave the higher targets on the table. So let me do this. I'm going to put some labels on here. Potentially 1, 2, 3 would then end here, because we're looking at 5 waves within 3. 4, don't have an exact target for it, but somewhere above the 1 basically. And then 5, same thing, don't have the exact target right now, but potentially up near 70K, something along those lines. So this is, let me put this in red right now, because it's not really too clear if that is indeed what it wants to do. Maybe make this, just want to see what size I want to put it. Something like that, maybe. So there's our potential impulse that didn't start off impulsively, which again is weird, so I don't have high confidence in this, but there's our potential for, if somehow all of this mess is the start of an impulse, that's potentially what we need to see happen. The alternative is a diagonal upwards. Okay, so we've broken the B-wave high, so I think a lower low is probably not in the cards at this point. But the alternative would be, here's ABC up in a 1, here's ABC down in a 2, just like we have here. Now we've got ABC up, and this is the top of a 3 in a diagonal. That is certainly possible right now, and based on this action, it should be more likely. Now that being said, we have a lot of other things that are looking quite bullish, like Ethereum, for instance. So maybe that drags Bitcoin up as well. We'll see. But In that instance, we would have a parallel channel that looks like this, and we would expect something along these lines. Then we would have 1, 2, there's 3, 4 would come down to the bottom of this channel somewhere. So we could see a move down if it goes quickly. We could see a move back down to the 60K region. If it takes its time and just chops sideways, which maybe is more likely, it could just chop sideways over here and strike it somewhere around 61, something like that. Then we'd get our 4, somewhere over here, and then 5 up to, again, somewhere around the top of that channel. That is possible. It's not the best case scenario for Bitcoin by any means. Let me put this in a different color. I'm going to just make that like green or something, just so we know that's a second possibility here of what we're doing off of the lows. So if we end up doing that, that would be a first wave up in a diagonal fashion, which is not great since we really are looking for an impulse here. We should be starting the third wave, which really should start off with a nice impulse up. But potentially from there, what we may see, we've seen this a couple times on Bitcoin now, when it fails to do an impulse off the lows, if it does this diagonal stuff like this, we can sometimes see it then come down and then do a double bottom, right? And double bottom basically back down here again, 57K area or 58K area, and basically try to just reset this move. That is certainly possible and would then potentially give us just a more extended correction. So this would be like, a WXY, basically like that, off of these highs. This would give Bitcoin a chance to try again, like I said, for the impulse. And from there, we should see something more impulsive looking like this to start us off. Rather than this chop that we got, we should see 5 wave moves up the whole way. And then that would start us off really well again. So all of this to say, I'm not convinced Bitcoin is ready quite yet to make all-time highs. It could, if we go into this red count and actually get an impulse going here, I would consider it, even though I don't know what the heck was happening down here. I would consider it if the rest of this can move impulsively. But we'll just have to wait and see basically what happens here. So, but in any case, I think bulls are relatively safe in the short term. We're probably not going to break below this channel back into these lows without making these 5 waves up anyway in the diagonal. So that's sort of the good news anyway for the bulls. Bad news obviously at this point is we don't have a clear impulse quite yet. But maybe we get it. And I just want to do one more thing here. Let's ignore that scam wick, and let's pull a fib extension from this one to this two. I want to see what that looks like. Haven't actually looked at that yet. All right, so in this case, we just about got the 1.0 extension there. That hit the 618 and then came down a bit far, but could be a 1-2. Does any of this line up with targets here? Yeah, it actually does. If we can get, that would actually make sense for this 5th wave here to top out in this region. Like I said, right around 70K. That lines up with this slightly higher fib extension as well, so that's good news. This 3 ending there lines up with 1.382, so that's good news. That's actually about the target for the 3rd based on that being a 1 and a 2. So we do have some confluence for that red. I don't view it as the highest probability right now, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter to me. I picked up longs down in this area here. So I'm just sort of sitting and waiting in those longs, and my spot buys are from significantly further down. So I really have no worries, on whatever it wants to do. I'm not saying, I'm going to short here. I'm certainly not saying that, but we have to kind of watch and see what happens here for the rest of this to play out. For the bears, we could potentially, because this move from here to here to here, this move got us near this 1.0 extension, and technically it could even extend up here to about 66K. Anywhere in this range here, we could potentially be making just another ABC up anywhere into this area here that I just had that red box in, and then move down further from there. That's possible. Let's look at what that would look like if we have a fib extension drawn from there down to the bottom of the move here and then up. Let's just say that was the top already. If we don't go any higher than that, let me change this to red so we can see it. This could be making a more complex W, X, and Y downwards. And this would potentially go as low as 53.5, but could conceivably end anywhere in that range there. So that would be the case for the bears in the short term anyway. I would still expect a move from there then. We had a nice impulse up. Even if we come down further into this range, I would still expect a move upwards from there. Another impulsive try basically. So this is kind of another way that Bitcoin can try again. So if we break below this channel that I have drawn here, if this starts coming down like this, and we break below it and move into this green box, then I'll turn this into my primary scenario. We'll reset the yellow fib, which I have drawn from 1 to 2. I have this labeled as 2 right now basically. Here's the 2 that I have on the chart, but there's potentially our 2 right there. So if we break this diagonal channel, that's probably what's going to happen then, is move down into this box, and then we'll try again from somewhere in that box to do an impulse up, and we could still see those higher targets for the rest of the bull run based on that. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take this red fib off for now. I'm going to take the blue fib off for now, just to clean up the chart a little bit. And let me see. I'm going to take that. Actually, let me leave that orange fib on for the time being, because that's sort of our short-term thing that we're looking at to try to complete that 3. So we can keep track of how that is progressing. Okay, so there's our short-term bearish case. And obviously if we crack below that level, then we may be looking at a larger bearish case, or potentially this larger diagonal, which I've mentioned a couple times here, potentially this larger diagonal up. We may be dealing with that, and this may be that larger ABC down. So that actually, this green box actually lines up pretty nicely with that. So that is probably what's happening if we do get down there, but we'll just have to play it by ear. Bitcoin is getting a little bit convoluted, a little bit messy here. I'm hoping that the bulls just take over and start pushing us upwards so that we can kind of be assured of those higher targets, but we'll see. We'll see what goes on from here. All right. I think that's everything that I have. So good night, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.